Welcome to the channel Detective TV. Today, we will explore the dramatic story of Joseph Pistone, the legendary FBI agent who infiltrated the Mafia world. From dangerous missions to exposing notorious crime bosses, Pistone's journey changed the history of criminal investigation in the US. Let's learn about the thrilling details and breathtaking situations in his life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the latest videos. Today, when I look back at the entire anti-mafia mission in New York, I feel more than satisfied even though it had to end before reaching the final conclusion. Pistone shared with the press in 2019. This year, 81 years old, Pistone is considered the most influential agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) of the US. He has infiltrated deep into the notorious mafia families in New York City, Milwaukee, and Florida for 6 years. Becoming one of the boss's best money-making henchmen. Pistone's goal at that time was to learn and determine the organizational system of the mafia families. After the FBI removed Pistone from duty in 1981, the evidence he provided helped the authorities arrest, prosecute, and sentence more than 100 mafia members, leading to the complete collapse of the American mafia. The wave of Italian immigration in the 1970s created an opportunity for the Sicilian mafia to gradually take root in the United States. Among these organizations, the most powerful were the 5 mafia families in New York City: the Gambino, Lucchese, Genovese, Bonanno, and Colombo families. Due to strict recruitment, the US police were almost unable to dismantle this type of crime. This was when the FBI branch in New York City decided to infiltrate with undercover agents. After volunteering, Agent Joseph was considered the perfect candidate. Born in 1939, Joseph was of Sicilian descent, could speak Italian fluently, and knew the characteristics of the mafia. Not only that, Joseph had been an FBI agent for 7 years, and 2 years ago had just made a great achievement in infiltrating a car theft ring, helping to arrest 30 criminals. In early 1976, Pistone volunteered to join the FBI's secret anti-mafia operation, being given a fake ID, fake driver's license, bank account, and credit card, all in the name of Donnie Brasco. The first important step was for Pistone to blend in with criminals in New York and tell them his fake story of jewelry store robberies to lure them into believing that he would be a useful moneymaker if he joined their ranks. The original plan was for Pistone to stay in the mafia for only 6 months, but the time it took to be introduced to the mafia leaders took more than 6 months. At first, he contacted the Colombo crime family's henchmen, but they were just petty criminals who could not help Pistone approach the higher-ranking bosses. So he met a powerful guy named Tony Mira, who had a fairly high position in the mafia organization. However, Mira's violent style did not suit Pistone's role, because the principle of FBI agents not actively participating in violent behavior. Therefore, Pistone tried to distance himself from Mira. Finally, Mira introduced Pistone to a mafia henchman named Benjamin "Lefty Guns" Ruggiero. Ruggiero was a smart guy who had been loyal to the mafia bosses all his life. Pistone and Ruggiero fell in love almost at first sight. Although he was a low-ranking henchman, made man, Ruggiero was very famous in the Bonanno mafia family. As the relationship grew closer, to the point where Ruggiero believed Pistone could make a lot of money, he introduced Pistone as an associate in early 1977. To help Pistone become a good and trustworthy moneymaker, the FBI gave him money to give to the mafia. Every time he had information to report to FBI leaders, Pistone included a request for cash. Pistone followed a very simple mafia payment method. He kept 50% for himself and gave the remaining 50% to Ruggiero. Ruggiero then split his money into two 50-50 parts, kept one part, i.e. 25%, and gave the remaining 25% to his boss, Mike Sabella. Sabella, in turn, split the money he received with the mafia bosses. By 1978, New York City was near bankruptcy. The economy was bad, even the mafia was having a hard time making money, and that was an opportunity Pistone exploited. He convinced Ruggiero to arrange a business deal with Frank Balistrieri, the Milwaukee mafia boss. The FBI also had another undercover agent named Tony Conti in the Milwaukee mafia who needed help with operations. Both Pistone and Conti advised Ruggiero to go to Milwaukee to negotiate a business deal with Balistrieri to sell retail machines. Ruggiero negotiated successfully, and the deal brought the two mafia families together. But there was one condition. Balistrieri wanted to meet Joseph Pistone. But Pistone couldn't go to Milwaukee to meet him because he had to take care of his wife in the hospital after a traffic accident. This incident lasted for 11 days, after which Pistone's wife gradually recovered. At this point, Pistone was able to go to Milwaukee to meet with Balistrieri. The two quickly reached an agreement, but another disaster struck. Weeks passed without Ruggiero and Pistone hearing from Balistrieri. They called him, but he didn't answer. Something was wrong. It turned out that Balistrieri had discovered that Conti was an FBI agent, but he didn't want to tell the Bonanno bosses or Ruggiero. The deal had fallen through, and the Bonanno bosses wanted to find someone to blame. This was a big mistake on Pistone's part, and it could have been fatal. Ruggiero and Pistone were called in to meet with the bosses. Since Pistone wasn't a full-fledged mafia member, only Ruggiero was called in as a reminder. For the next few months, both Ruggiero and Pistone wanted to avoid the Bonanno bosses, so the FBI transferred him to Florida. There, he joined another undercover operation to take down Santo Trafficante, the boss of the Florida Mafia family. A few months later, Ruggiero also arrived in Florida. While Pistone and Ruggiero were in Florida, Bonanno boss Carmine Galante was murdered in a Brooklyn restaurant. His body was found with a cigar in his mouth. Without a leader, the Bonanno family fell into disarray. At the lower levels, Ruggiero and Pistone's boss had been ousted after the Milwaukee bust, and the two now had a new leader, Dominic "Sonny Black" Napolitano. In Florida in 1979, Pistone had been in the Mafia for 4 years. He convinced Ruggiero, with Black's approval, to buy a nightclub called Knight's Court. The FBI had bought the building a few months earlier, and it now provided the perfect location for a meeting between the Bonanno and Trafficante families. Pistone, working with undercover agent Edgar Robb, renovated the entire club, installing listening devices and hidden cameras in the walls. The club became a center for loan sharking, selling stolen goods, sports betting, and organizing gambling. Black was very satisfied with the business at the club, invited Trafficante to join, and the boss agreed. Trafficante benefited in every way. He made a lot of money, and his men did not have to do anything at the club. But one night in January 1981, when the game was at its peak, the police raided the Knight's Court, confiscated thousands of dollars in cash, and charged Black and undercover agent Robb with resisting arrest. Black became angry and threatened to kill Robb, but then calmed down. Both were to stand trial. The FBI had to intervene, and the trial was canceled. The case was dropped, because Black was still necessary for Pistone's undercover operations. The Knight's Court nightclub continued to make money through loan sharking and bookmaking. So, despite being arrested by the police, Black suggested to Robb and Pistone that he would recommend to his superiors that they be inducted as full members of the Mafia. By this time, Pistone was in his 6th year as an undercover agent, and he had become the agent who had penetrated the deepest into the Mafia. But his success was met with a fatal blow. The first Mafia man who introduced him to the organization was Tony Mira, who had just been released from prison. Mira immediately discovered that Pistone was making a lot of money under Black's guidance. He reported to the Bonanno bosses that he deserved a share of Pistone's earnings because he was the one who introduced Pistone to the organization. Moreover, he made up a story that Pistone had made $250,000 in a heroin deal and kept it a secret, not sharing the money with the family. Pistone's life was in danger of being ruined. If he was found guilty, he would be killed. Pistone was not allowed to defend himself because he was not yet a full member of the Mafia. Ruggiero took over for Pistone. A series of meetings took place within the Bonanno family over the course of 2 months. Meanwhile, there was discord within the Bonanno family hierarchy. Black was promoted to deputy general, second in command to Bonanno boss Rusty Rastelli. At the same time, 3 bosses under his command rebelled and plotted to kill both Rastelli and Black to seize control of the Bonanno family. However, Black struck first. In April 1981, all 3 rebel bosses were shot dead and the civil war was quelled. Thanks to Ruggiero's help, Pistone was cleared of charges, and Mira had to pack up and leave. Although Pistone asked to continue his undercover mission, the FBI decided that the mission was now too risky. In June 1981, the FBI ordered the end of the Donnie Brasco undercover operation. During his last few weeks on the job, Pistone had gathered all the information he could about the Mafia that he could glean from Ruggiero and Black. On Sunday, July 24, 1981, Pistone left the Knights Court nightclub. That was the last time Pistone saw Ruggiero and Black. From Florida, Pistone flew to Milwaukee to testify against Boss Balistrieri and his two sons. The next day, the FBI visited Black in New York. They told him Donnie Brasco's true identity and showed him a photo of Pistone in an FBI uniform. Black initially refused to admit it, but with the evidence, he couldn't deny it. The Bonannos accused Black and Ruggiero of allowing an undercover FBI agent to infiltrate the organization. In September 1981, Black disappeared after being summoned to meet with Bonanno family bosses. His body was discovered on August 12, 1982. Ruggiero was also summoned, but on the way, he was arrested by the FBI and taken into protective custody. Pistone kept hundreds of hours of wiretaps. His testimony helped a federal grand jury convict Ruggiero, Black, and several other Bonanno family members on 17 counts. Through conversations with Ruggiero and Black, Pistone compiled a list of 120 top Mafia figures and put them in prison. In 1992, Ruggiero was released from prison after serving 11 years due to illness. He died on November 24, 1994, of cancer. Joseph Pistone left the FBI shortly after Operation Donnie Brasco ended and was awarded a $500 severance pay. Joseph has since moved several times and changed his identity to ensure his family's safety. His current address is confidential, but he occasionally appears in public in disguise to sign books or testify in court.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And as always, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one.